Hey everybody, Goosebumps for Dummies here, and today we are going to be wrapping up our Arc 1 Goosebumps Horrorland reviews with The Streets of Panic Park. Finally, we are talking about the Arc 1 finale, and there's a lot to be said about this book, whether you like it or not. Some people don't like it, but there's also some people I've heard that said, oh, I like it, or it's okay, or it's really good, or it's just poop. Don't read it, or, nah, this isn't good. So it has varying opinions from what I've heard. And where I landed, maybe a shock for a lot of people. So let's just get into that, honestly, with the blurb. And now for the blurb. Yeah. Frightened to death. Oh, scary. Face off. Luke and Lizzie think they'll be safe in Panic Park. But they're wrong, because Panic Park is home to the Menace, a two-faced villain with a twisted plan to trap them forever. So long, sucker. Then they learn they've been sharing secrets with a traitor, who's been tricking them all along. To beat the Menace and his rotten crew, Luke and Lizzie must team up with an old foe, but will they be double-crossed again? Maybe not, I don't know. Of course I know, I read the book, because I'm him. Yeah, this book, it's hard to say, really, what I think of it, but to clarify, it's amazing, in a way. This is a personal all-time, one of the best Goosebumps books I've ever read. It's definitely top 50, but it has some things that definitely drown the enjoyability, but I still give it a very peculiar rating. But of that rating that I'll give it at the end of the video, it's one of the lowest of that rating score. So it's on the lower end of that spectrum, whatever it's going to get, which I know. I'm not saying it yet. So yeah, The Streets of Panic Park. There's a lot of positives and a few negatives, but those negatives hit hard. But what are the positives? Let's start off with the Menace. This is a really peculiar character. He has an interesting weakness, which may or may not play into the climax of the story, as well as his antics are weird, because he's just pure freaking evil. He's one of the most evil characters in Goosebumps, with his whole goal being to trap these kids here to unspiral his park out of the other dimension, because it was so unbelievably terrifying that it spiraled into another dimension. I'm not even kidding, that's the lore. It literally broke, like, the law of physics just because of how unbelievably scary it is. Which is, like, one of the stupidest things I've ever read, but it works just because, well, it's Goosebumps. I mean, you can expect some deep, lore-filled reason why this park is here. No, it frickin' spiraled out of existence because it was so unbelievably scary. It literally broke every law of physics because it was so detrimentally terrifying. Yeah, it really is so dumb, that twist. And like I said, back to the Menace. His character is just a maniac. Even worse than Dr. Maniac. He's psycho. And then back to his frickin' defeat and how that affects the story. It's so weird. And his character is just one of the most interesting to read about, next to the other arc villain, which I honestly love slightly more, and that would be Jonathan Schiller. But yeah, really intriguing villain we have here. Now for everything else. The character usage. I say usage because, I mean, the characters all blend into one. They all want the same thing, and they all have the same exact goal and goals and way of getting them, pretty much. Yeah. I think the character usage is overall, for what this book is, okay. It's not a huge positive, but it's when I'm like, okay, I guess I'll put it in positives because I want to bring it up in this video. There's like 15 plus characters, excluding villains, just main characters, which is just like, what the fuck, dude? I mean, it's already too much, and I'll admit that's definitely something that slightly brings down the enjoyability of the book, and I will bring up two particular characters that do absolutely nothing in the book, which is like, well, fuck me, this should have been like 300 pages. That would have been helping, but then again, it might have been longer suffering for some people who hate this story. The characters really just were okay. Which sounds like I'm being negative. It's just like, it could have been better. But overall, I think for what this book is and how long it is, I think the character usage was handled relatively okayly, I guess. Not bad, but not amazing. And I think some better character usage is actually the villains. Weirdly enough, they all get their little bits of moment to shine. Like Dr. Maniac, he has a whole scene in a diner, I believe, which is like cool. It's an okay scene, but mostly, I mean, when they aren't being villains per se. Yeah, the huge twist of the story around the end of the book is that they want to team up with the main characters to take down the Menace because they found out the Menace isn't letting them out of here. They're going to be trapped here as well. That's cool. I mean, does it make a lot of sense? I don't know. But either way, I rolled with it, and I think it's really fun. Just seeing these uncanny interactions between the main characters and the villains ever so casually. Slappy insulting them, but not trying to enslave them. Dr. Crawler, and Dr. What's his name? I'm so dumb. I don't remember his name. Dr. Cranium. There we go. Getting the weirdest spotlight ever, and he's like the least memorable villain. So it's just like, holy crap. It's just very intriguing with its fair share of issues, but nonetheless, it's just so cool to see all these villains team up with the good guys, let alone with each other, to get themselves out of harm's way. And it's cool. You know, it's just cool. In a childish way, because it feels like bad fan fiction crossover writing, but overall, it's just like, this is something younger me would have loved. And I can appreciate it for that, because this is meant for a younger me. So, I thought that was really cool. And it's done well. I mean, not even just, oh, they're all showing up, it's cool. No, it's actually kind of meaningful, because it works for the ending of the story, because of what they need to do. Really cool. Really like that aspect. For some other things I really wanted to point out, just some smaller things. The plot, it's generally good. I think there's some good moments, especially in the intro when they're terrifying the kids out of their mind, amplifying the idea that the Menace is not to be fucked with. He is the Menace, which is really cool. Byron, as much as I'm kind of against him being twist villain, because it's like, oh, well, that just feels really out of character. Either that, or he's just really good at pretending to be a good guy. I like the scenes here. You know, I like Byron's moments, and it was weird seeing him so evil, and the kids be like, "No, Byron," and it was intriguing in that regard. And yeah, there's some great scare scenes, some great pacing. Surprisingly, this book didn't feel like it was particularly slow or too fast at times. It was surprisingly good, and kept you engaged for most of the time. But it had its fair share of shortcomings. Those shortcomings mostly involving characters. Lack of characters, per se, because let's just break it down. Some villains weren't even in the book, which is just like, okay, these guys are here to face the monsters that they're most afraid of. We have Captain One Ben Longleg, or if I'm saying that right, we have Slappy, we have Dr. Crawler, we have Dr. Cranium, we have frickin' the Egg Monsters from Mars ripoff from My Friend's Coming Monster. I love that book, but I'll call him that either way. We have, I believe, the Who's Your Mummy dude. Can't remember his name. But we don't have Monster Blood. It's absent. It's completely gone from the story. We do not have, I repeat, we do not have the cursed camera. And it does make sense because Dr. Crawler, he's a snake still, and they're just wielding him like a haunted object that can talk. Why can't Monster Blood just be a giant blob like, yo, I'm here too? Why can't someone be holding the cursed camera? Just that little bit of service there. It doesn't deduct the whole 0.5 on its own, but it adds up when it comes to the main character problem. These guys aren't main characters, but they're in the book. And I forgot their names. That's how little I cared for them, which is like, this shouldn't be an issue, but it is. If you're going to make characters, you've got to use them in some way. You can't have a pointless character. They can even be as simple as kind of expressing ideas that are already implemented in the story. These guys do fucking nothing. And that is the main girl from Seiichi Sendai Streaming, and I believe the dude from Camp Sliver. They don't do shit. They speak maybe twice per character in the book. And that's just sad. And there's other characters who really don't have big roles. And I know, yeah, there's a clusterfuck of characters, but that shouldn't even been a thing. It's good, or at least as good as it was handled, because it could have been better. Obviously, if it was fucking longer, we'd have got more time for each character. For the short Page length, I think they did okay overall. Just that's where it falls short. That's why it ain't great, because it's got those characters that are just like, you don't do shit, do you? You're just adding, I guess, more people to my imagination. And it just doesn't, it feels sad that these characters are just so, okay, they're here. Let alone, I don't care for them, too. And it's sad to admit that, but I don't care for them. But I still wanted to see them get more talking points and action points, just because, well, they're frickin' main characters of the 15 or so. Crazy, but nonetheless, moving on from the character mini rant, I will admit something real quick. There's also another character rant. This is weird. This is a weird one. There's a character in this book that has basically no purpose in the story, and it's actually hinted at in book 11. And I don't remember their name. I just know they appear around the very end when they're all out of the Panic Park shenanigans. And it's this horror who was actually a mole. It's not Byron, of course. He was actually a mole himself. He was evil, just pretending to be nice when he was already evil. This mole character that was working with Luke and Lizzie was fucking useless. I mean, what did they add, really, besides the initial, what is it called, exposition dump for them to even be here in the story. Hey guys, there's kids being trapped in Horrorland, you should come here. I'm a mole. Okay. He didn't need to show up. I mean, he could have been in book 11 and been made a little more sense, or maybe have Lizzie and Luke Morris appear in book 9. Maybe make him more of a character even, the mole. No, he appears at the very end of book 12. For like just a page or two, I think. Really useless just to even include him there. It just feels like, okay, just a blatant misuse of a character. There's also another character. There's a character who isn't even in the story past like page 30. In the intro of the book, they reveal that one of the characters was a spy and was one of the twins from Help We Have Strange Powers. Since everything I said now makes a little sense because I thought it was just one of the twins, I'm going to re-record this part. Both the twins were taken away because they were spies, and also it's revealed that the Menace gave them their powers, which is a whole little mini issue in themselves because it kind of contradicts everything that happened. Was the Menace in their town? How did the Menace give them their powers? Is he being another lying little shit? Because they're not spies. The twins are not spies, as revealed by the end of the story. It's just the Menace trying to take away the psychics, I guess. Which is fine, makes sense, but it's like, why? Why? Either way, just completely useless characters. I guess they were only there for book 11. The character fiasco aside, because it's just an atrocity with just a select few. Overall, they're done okay. They all get okay's time. Obviously, some were others, like Matt and Carly Beth. They're obviously the main guys. Even Robbie. But overall, this story just didn't have a lot of that I was hoping for. I'm not saying this book's bad at all. I think it's great. It's one of the better modern Goosebumps books, I'll say that much. But I wish it had a little bit more in it. Just a little bit more of a clear direction around the midway point, because it was just them trying to escape Panic Park and not knowing jack shit how to do it until they randomly ran into the villains who were said, yo, we know. Explains, shit. It feels a little bit directionless, and just wish it had a bit more when it was doing that. Like, it feels kind of like a typical book at that rate when this is the finale. But overall, yeah, not a huge issue but the characters, some of them just make this book a little, And overall, I can see why this book gets some hate. But I can also see why it gets a lot of praise, like me. Let's get to my rating. This book's a very fun time and has a lot of great things to be garnered from it, and also has some issues involving some very specific characters and directional issues. I still give this book very lightly. I think it's at the very bottom of my 10 out of 10s. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for Panic Frickin' Park. Never thought I'd say it, but inner child is speaking possibly. But it's also my critical thinking. It's like, well, this book didn't do anything inherently shitty aside from some character usage, and that's alone forgivable. And it's a very, very, very light 10 out of 10 because all that adds up to like the absolute minimum. I can't remove a 0.5 for it. But I could if I just removed it a little bit higher and see how much I deduct. So it's a very light 10 out of 10. Just keep that in mind. But 10 out of 10 just for the umph. But if we're being realistic here, it could go down to a 9.5 any day. Anyways, hope guys enjoyed this book review, and tell me what you think about The Streets of Panic Park down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether you hate the book or also love the book or maybe feel mixed on it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.